What's going on, guys? Welcome back to another video. I hope you guys enjoyed that little montage there. I know I did get a few comments on my last video. I did like this, that you guys do want to see a live PC build where there's no montage and it's just my thoughts while building the PC. And trust me, I do have plans to do that. However, with this build, that just wasn't going to work out as much as I wish it did. But hopefully this will be my last montage and talking video, unless I decide to do a video where it's just a montage. But other than that, hopefully all my other PC builds will just be live builds if I ever do any more PC builds. However, this video is not a montage only build, so right now I'm going to go over all the parts used in this PC. So this PC was for my neighbor, and its main purpose was to play some games and watch some movies in the basement. That is why it's nothing too crazy, but he already does have a pretty nice $1,500 pre-built in his room, which is why this is also not too crazy. So this PC didn't really have to be too high end, and it's not, because if he really wants to, he can just go game on his pre-built. So guys, with that, let's get into all the parts. And just to let you guys know, all the parts I'm about to mention will be linked in the description down below if you want to check any of them out. Starting with the CPU. Another thing I want to mention though is that last second, for some reason, he changed almost every single part in this build. Like, for example, he switched from AMD to Intel, he switched cases, and just stuff like that. I'm not exactly sure why he did this, but his new parts will definitely perform pretty well and definitely give comparable performance. So, like I said, starting with the CPU, he went with the i3-9100F. Now, Ryzen would have been a much better all-around CPU choice. However, he won't be doing much more than gaming on this build, so I think Intel is definitely going to pull through here. The 9100F is also priced a little lower than most Intel CPUs around that performance because it lacks integrated graphics, hence the F on the end of the name. That's also something that not many people use on Intel CPUs anyway. Most people will go with AMD if they want some integrated graphics, so I think it's a really good deal because of that. Boosting up to 4.2 gigahertz and being a 9th gen processor, I think $70 is actually a really good deal here from Team Blue and will definitely outgame its Ryzen counterpart. For the motherboard, he has gone with the Gigabyte B365M DS3H. Now, even though this motherboard doesn't look too great, it's actually a fairly decent low-end board. The main feature here being the 4 DIMM slots just for the upgradability in case he does need some more RAM down the line. For example, if you wanted to start video editing for a YouTube channel or something like that, he could easily just get 8 more gigs of RAM or just a whole different RAM kit because he does have the extra 2 DIMM slots. But at $75, obviously the power delivery isn't going to be great, the I/O is going to be decent, and it's just a pretty good all-around budget board. Even though the motherboard's power delivery isn't great, it's not like we're overclocking the CPU anyway, and it is a fairly low-end chip, so I really don't think there's any harm going with this board. The board is also micro ATX if you were wondering, and yes, he did go with an ATX case. However, in the final result, it really doesn't look that bad. He could have gone with an ATX board. However, I think the extra $30 to $40 just wouldn't have been worth it because he really wouldn't use any of those features. He also chose a Thermaltake CPU cooler because, let's be honest, the Intel stock coolers look terrible, doesn't matter what CPU you get. And he also swapped out the thermal paste for some from Corsair, just so the thermals are a little bit better. For the RAM, he went with a Patriot Viper 2x4 gig kit at 2666 megahertz. I think even for a budget build like this, he could have squeezed in 16 gigabytes. However, 8 gigabytes will definitely pull through for gaming and movie watching. And as long as he's not video editing or something that takes a lot of RAM, he should be fine with 8. However, in a few years, I would definitely recommend upgrading. But if he does want, his motherboard does have 4 RAM slots, so it will be super easy to just get 8 more gigs. And then he would have 4x4 gigs for 16 total. Generally, I would recommend, especially in 2020, 3600 speed for the RAM. However, this is not a Ryzen build because Ryzen does like fast memory. It is a budget Intel build, and even though 2666 doesn't sound like fast or a lot, it'll definitely pull through in this case. However, like I said, if this were Ryzen, because Ryzen does like a lot faster memory speeds, I would definitely recommend at least 3200, but if possible, definitely step it up to 3600. The RAM sticks themselves look decent, obviously nothing special, and obviously no RGB. Maybe if they were a slightly more neutral color, like black, then they would look a little bit better, but this build wasn't built to look good. For the storage, it's just a simple silicone power 256GB SSD. Not much storage at all, but it is plenty for a few games and maybe other small important things. It's also cheap at under $30, so if he really wants, he can get another cheap one, or maybe another expensive one if he has the money down the line, because obviously he can put another one in his system. And that's pretty much it for storage. For the GPU, it's kind of an interesting choice. I'm sure you guys were a little confused as to why he went with a 1050 Ti for this build, but it's because he had the card lying around, and to save money, he just decided to go with it, because even though it's a 1050 Ti, a very old card, it will push through the games he is trying to run, even if it means turning them to medium or low settings. This is the 4GB version of the 1050 Ti, so while it is the higher end model of the 1050 Ti, for something like the 1660, that would be the lower end model. However, if you are trying to build something similar to this system or this exact system, I would not recommend going with a 1050 Ti. Definitely go with a newer card like the 1650 or 1660 because they will get a lot better performance and they are newer cards, so you won't have to upgrade in a few years. I'm not even sure if you can buy new 1050 Ti's anymore, so that's probably a hint not to go with one. Moving on to the case, this is kind of an interesting one. I'm not quite sure why, but he has gone with the Abcon Core Chronos 650. Now, he says the case costs $70, and $70 isn't bad for a case, but when you look at some of its competitors that also cost $70, the Abcon Core case starts to look like a bit of a ripoff. It does have a nice mesh and plastic front panel, which does allow for great airflow. However, most of the case is plastic, and when you look at some of its competitors, they're using much higher quality material that looks better too. The case actually does have some nice features though, like the power supply shroud and the good amount of cable management room. However, those are kind of to be expected in 2020. I just think a better option for a case with this build would have been like an NZXT H510 or something similar to that, but it's okay because the case doesn't look too bad and the purpose of this PC was not aesthetics. However, even though the PC wasn't built for aesthetics, he did pick up some RGB fans from up here, not up there, like the company up here. They actually make a 3-pack of RGB fans for $23, which I think is an insane deal. They actually do work as advertised. They spin and light up. So there's really no complaining with them there. I know I keep contradicting myself because the PC was not built around aesthetics. However, that didn't stop him from picking up some custom gray cables because custom cables make every single PC look better. And guys, that is actually going to wrap it up for this video. Those are all the parts from his new gaming/movie watching PC build. I know you guys do want to see a live build with my thoughts as I'm building, and trust me, I do have plans for a few of those in the future. However, for now, I hope you guys enjoyed this montage and me talking about the parts. If you guys did enjoy, a sub and a like would be massively appreciated, as I am almost at 2,000 subscribers, and I am trying to hit 3,000 by the end of the year, so a sub would mean a lot. If you guys do have any comments or concerns, just comment them down below, because you guys are guaranteed a response. And that's going to be it for this video, and I'll catch you guys in the next one.